So then when I was graduating and I was getting some job offers and my friends were getting job offers and people were like, man, you got a job offer. You're going to be making 35,000 a year. And they were like excited about that. And I'm like, what?
What? Success isn't just about money. It's about winning in every area of life. Welcome to the Larry Hulsey podcast, where we dive into leadership, business, personal growth, investing, and family so you can prosper the way God intended. I'm Larry Hulsey, and each episode will bring you the wisdom, strategies, and motivation to help you level up in every part of your life. So if you're ready to grow, lead, and succeed, let's get started. All right, guys, what's going on? This is Larry Hulsey. This is the Larry Hulsey podcast, and I'm super excited because I've got my good friend, one of my best friends in the whole world on today, and I want to interview him. His name is Trey Herron. He's in Mississippi, the great state of Mississippi. I mean, not as great as Texas, but, it is a pretty good state. Is the second best. Of course, Texas is much bigger and better, but Mississippi's pretty good too. Right. So I want to interview him today because we've had a lot of history. We've known each other almost 30 years and been on a mission together, and it's just been great. So he's actually the #1 distributor in the world for Herbalife, which is the largest nutrition company in the world, and he's got a huge business and an amazing leader. And I just am so excited to interview you today, Trey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here. And I'll, try not to take the whole hour explaining why Mississippi's better than Texas, but we'll just go ahead and move on from that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that'll be a never-ending battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just call Mississippi East Texas. You guys are pretty good over there. Well, cool. So I thought we could, just dive into, a little bit about your background, how you grew up. We can just kind of cover the whole metamorphosis that's Trey Herron. Where you started, and let's just have a conversation. I mean, we're just going to wing it today.
That's a interesting, crazy story to tell for sure.
Yep. So I know you grew up in Brandon, Mississippi.
Yep, grew up in Mississippi. Been here, I guess, my whole life. I've lived. I'm sure we'll get into it. I've lived all around the world from time to time, but always ended up back in Mississippi, and it's home. My wife's from Mississippi, so we're proud to be here for sure.
That's awesome. Well, let's go back to maybe we start at like high school. I mean, you were an athlete, great golfer. I've golfed with you. It's terribly, even when you haven't played in like 10 years, you still just smoke me. So I don't know how you like hit it around the trees, like whenever you curve the ball around a tree. I'm like, that's impressive. But I know your dad paid you to play golf growing up, didn't he?
Yeah, it's very interesting. When I was even before high school, when I was, just a young kid, my friends were out, for summer, they would get jobs, whether it was a lifeguard or, doing something that mowing yards, whatever, the jobs we have as kids. My father said, look, during summer, You have two choices. You can either get a job like everyone else, or your job can be practicing golf. I'll drop you off at the golf course at 9 in the morning. I'll pick you up at 5, and I will pay you minimum wage to do that. He said, but what you're not going to do is just sit around and do nothing all summer. So, he drove that work ethic doing something. And of course, I took that option of playing golf every day, way over getting the regular job. Although, it was definitely hard work, but doing what I loved. And, it ended up paying off for him. I think the minimum wage, he ended up getting his money back. I had a dream then to have a to play golf Division I scholarship. And I did at Ole Miss, the University of Mississippi. And so, all those hours, they definitely paid off in the long run.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, your dad was, the best guy ever. I'll never forget, being in an event with him. I guess I was probably 18, 19 at the most when I met him for the first time. And what an incredible guy, the greatest network marketer to ever live.
I definitely believe that, and learned so much from him. I think, that's definitely what shaped me as a kid. He joined network marketing when I was 10 years old. Prior to that, we called him a chicken doctor. He was in pharmaceutical sales, but he sold pharmaceuticals for chickens. So that was what he was known as, was a chicken doctor. And he had clients that he wined and dined, and he used to always say, he wined and dined himself all the way up to 400 pounds. So when I was 10 years old, he got on some nutrition products, lost 83 pounds fairly quickly, and went on to lose around 200 pounds. And so, for me, kind of seeing that change in him, and then he got involved with network marketing around that same time because of the results that he got from the products. And I saw everything. You don't know when you're 10 years old, you don't know that your parents are struggling financially, but I know everything started to kind of change in our life after that. And seeing what happened with him on the nutrition products, it was kind of like I got a new father. The energy, the things that he wasn't able to do before, he was able to do. And then working for himself, I think I learned I learned a lot about work ethic then. I can remember there was some times as a kid where I maybe resented it a little bit because my mother and my father, they both traveled to trainings on the weekends and seminars and things like that. And I can remember this one instance, playing baseball at baseball practice, and I broke my nose, and I didn't even have anyone there in my family to take me to the hospital. I was 14 years old and was actually driving. And actually drove myself to practice because my parents were gone. And I had that memory of like, wow, they're not even here for this, But I look back now, I'm like, the best lesson in the world they taught me was work ethic and how, things like that, the personal development, the trainings, the seminars, how important things like that are. So, those were some very important lessons, that I learned.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, having to drive yourself to the hospital, that taught you some independence too.
It did. Yeah. Yeah, I was very young for my age, so back then we'd get driver's license at 15, so it's different than now. I think it's at 16, but all my friends were 15, but I was very young for my grade, so I thought it was okay if I should be driving too if they were.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Mississippi has all kinds of weird rules about driving. I mean, they'll let you drive around with an open container, right?
Back then, probably.
Yeah. Not that we would do that, but that's I
No,
remember
no,
hearing that. That's never happened. Never happened.
no.
Oh man. Well, so when you went to college, I know that whenever you were in college, that's whenever you were playing golf. You had a crazy schedule, and your dad recruited you into the business. And maybe share a little bit about your story there.
Yeah. So, when I was 19, I was a sophomore at Ole Miss, and I had come home from school one weekend, and I walked into my father's office, and he was on a conference call, and it was like an opportunity meeting for the company. And I had obviously knew my parents were very successful in the business, but I just had never thought that it was something that I could do. And there was a 25-year-old guy on that call that day, and my dad happened to have it on speakerphone, so I heard this guy's story. And he was 25 years old, and he said the month before he made $1,500. And that was like something for me. I was like, okay, my thought process was, if this guy's 25 making $1,500, I'm 19, maybe I could make $1,000. And so, I looked at my father and I said, I think I can do that. And he looked very surprised because I'd never shown any interest in the business. And then he looked me in the eyes and he said, well, I know you can, but would you? And so I got started part-time, and it was amazing. What happened, just working part-time from my dorm. I made around $400 my first day. I had all these products in the trunk of my car, and I remember driving back to school going, oh my gosh, what have I got myself into? And I had some friends in the sororities at school, and I asked one of them if I could go to lunch with her the next day, and went to lunch and just started sharing about the products I had, sold them all. I remember I called my dad that night and I said, look, I'm out of products, I need more. And there was like this silence for a few seconds, and then he said, well, who stole them? And I said, no, you're not going to believe what happened. And so then my friends that were all making fun of me for starting this business, selling weight loss products, they had all kind of, nicknames for me, but they kept seeing the money that I was making from retailing the product. So after a while, they decided not to make fun of me and to join me. And we found their friends from high school that went to other universities. And it just took off. And it was hard to go to class before, but as I built my business, eventually I was making, I think, more than most of my professors probably. And but nobody in my family had a college education, and so that was kind of important. And I remember, graduation. I remember being, after graduation, going to eat dinner with my mother and father. And I remember my father saying, look, you're the first person, you've got a college education, you want to go get a job, do that, that's what you should do if you want. And my dad, he was lying when he said that.
Oh, yeah.
If I wouldn't have joined him in network marketing, it would have destroyed him. But I said, what do you think? I'm stupid? That was prior to that. I really didn't realize how amazing this industry was, because as a 19, 20-year-old kid, you don't really know what people are making out in the job market. And so then when I was graduating, and I was getting some job offers, and my friends were getting job offers, and people were like, man, you got a job offer, you're going to be making $35,000 a year. And they were like excited about that. And I'm like, what? That's what people get excited about. So that was really like, for me, when I was like, man, this industry, I'm definitely not gonna. I'm not going into the corporate world for sure. So that's when I went full time with this business, and have never looked back.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're like, did you say per month or per year?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah, how can I survive like that?
You're like, hold on, let me divide that by 12 and see how broke am I going to be.
Exactly.
That would have been quite a step down in lifestyle for you.
That would have been rough.
I don't think Mamie would have liked it either.
No.
I don't think that would have been for her. Oh man, well yeah, I was I was 18 when I started, so similar thing. I wasn't on I went to college, I failed 3 classes my first semester, so you were a little bit better student than I was, but man, yeah, you just don't know. Whenever you're 18, 19, 20, you don't know anything about the world. You don't really know the value of a dollar. You don't know a number sounds fine, but you don't really do the math and figure, okay, you're going to take taxes out of that. They're going to take, you got to pay rent or mortgage or whatever, and you just don't think about how fast it gets eaten up.
Yeah. And none of that's being taught to you in college or high school. Maybe today they teach some of those things, but I definitely wasn't learning everything I needed to know for sure.
Oh yeah, and you would have had to be listening anyway. To be learning.
True. Yeah, maybe going to class would have helped.
Oh man, so your story is so interesting because after college, maybe tell a little bit about what whenever you graduated, or you were like a month later, you were off.
So I graduated, and I remember our company was opening in Thailand. And my father was like, look, you should diversify your business. You build an international business. Why don't you go to Bangkok, Thailand? And so I decided to go. Hey, this sounds like a lot of fun. So I packed up and headed to Thailand. Was going to be there for 6 months, and obviously didn't speak the language, didn't know anybody, and just went. And I just knew I needed to talk to people. I had always learned the power of the law of averages. And, so I had a goal to talk to 10 people a day. And I would put 10 coins in one of my pockets, and I would just walk the streets in Bangkok. And I had this little pitch book, and I would look for people. Do you speak English? And then I would kind of make a presentation and invite them to the hotel to meetings we were doing. And it took me for a while. That was way, 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 way out of my comfort zone. Just walking up to strangers. I don't know why, especially when I was in another country. I didn't know anybody, but still at first it'd take me like all day long to get the courage to walk up to 10 people. And then finally I got a little bit better at it, And, I guess I got about 177 days into that, and really had nothing. So I was only going to be there for 180 days. So I was 177 days into talking 10 people a day, and I didn't have any business to show for it. And I can remember other people that were there working, like, look, Trey, all you've done is work, walk the streets. You're only going to be here for like 3 more days. Why don't you at least go do some tourist stuff, go, see the sights, go to the temples. And I said, no, that's not the plan, because I had this, crazy work ethic. I think, some of the things that really benefited me in life was, when I was a kid, but even before playing golf, I was really big. I raced BMX bikes, and then I got into golf. And, of course, I played the team sports like baseball, football, those things a little bit, but I really excelled in those individual sports. So I really had learned discipline, drive, determination, because I always, in golf, it was up to you or what you were doing. Yeah, in college we had a team, but it's still, an individual sport, same with the bike racing. So I was always, that was important, I think, in my career, learning, having that discipline, having that drive, consistency, those things. So I was like, no, I'm not here for 177 days. I'm here for 180, and kept going. And so then on day 177, I meet a couple that, decides to join me in the business and becomes my first president's team members in our company. And now I've got one of the largest teams in Southeast Asia from that. But I often think back, like, what if I would have stopped on day 176? And anytime when I'm working with people on my team, they're like, I've been doing this for like 30 days and nothing's happening. I'm like, call me on day 178 and then we'll talk. But until then, just keep going. So that was a very valuable lesson that I learned kind of, I was 22, 23 years old at that time.
Yeah, I mean, how many people quit? I mean, they quit after the first no. Somebody says boo. They quit after, or 10 no's, or 30 days in, or 60 days in, or 90 days in. Even if it's, I mean, my mindset when I joined was like, okay, I can be a waiter, which is what I was doing at that time. I can go back to college, which I found difficult because I failed 3 classes my first semester. Or I got this opportunity that could give me everything I ever dreamed of if I'm willing to just get in there and work it. And, I know your attitude was the same. It was like, I'm going to do it until I figure it out. And that's really the attitude it takes. It really takes an all-in mindset.
Yeah, that was me. It was like there's never been like a plan B. It was going to work. Getting to where we are now took many, many years, and so it took a lot longer than I planned. But those lessons that you learn along the way are so valuable.
I think it was funny how you've told me before about how you worked for 90 days and then you came home for a few days. And then you went back, and maybe tell that story because it's so funny. Like, I mean, your 90 days in Thailand, your first 90 days.
Yeah, so I had 90 days, and then with my visa or however I was there, I could only stay 90 days, and then I had to leave and come right back. So I left, and I did have I say 177 days, I didn't have anything to show, and I didn't at that point. But after the first 90 days, I had built a little team, and it was pretty exciting. It was like I took my team, I took them to this Italian restaurant the night before I left to come home, and we had this great dinner. I think there were 7 of them I took, and so I go home, I'm feeling great that, man, first 90 days, I've got this little team going, took them to dinner, everything's great. So I come back in like a week, and to this day, I've never seen nor heard from any of them. I don't know if it was like Italian was the wrong dinner to take the Thai people to, or if like a UFO picked up my team outside the restaurant. I have no idea. Nobody ever answered my calls again. Nobody ever talked to me again. So
Just gone.
just gone. But it was like, okay. But again, the plan was talking to 10 people a day for 180 days. And so I just got right back at it, but, no idea what happened to those people.
That is so funny, dude. It happens. It happens.
It happens. It happens.
Oh man. So after Thailand, you came back to the States, and I know it was after that we really met on one of our paid vacations, which was a cruise in the Caribbean. And man, that we got stories we can't talk about on this podcast from that cruise, because it's just, that stuff is in the vault. But that was a good time.
Yeah, that was before we were totally personal developed. So we'll leave that in the past.
Yeah,
as lessons learned.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes your income outruns your personal development.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, good time. So maybe so if you look at your whole career, I mean, you had like early success, and then some challenges, and then the Thailand experience, and then working, and I mean, things that people go through, just the challenges and the disappointments, and the where we look at ourselves and we're like, man, what's wrong with me, or what am I not doing right? Why is this guy winning and I'm not winning? Or maybe just talk about the roadblocks and the challenges, and how long it was that you stuck in there before, like, you had your next big growth. And
yeah, it was that, and even what happened there in Thailand, that couple that I met, they didn't all of a sudden immediately become successful. So that couple that I met, and it's funny when you talk to them today, when they tell the story, they joined me in my business, but they tell the story that they joined me in because they felt sorry for me, and the way they worded it is they pitied me. But they said, if you notice, even on this podcast, I talk a lot with my hands, and I get real excited. And that was one of the things that I always learned, was like, hey, when you make a presentation, you make it your best every single time, because you never know who you're talking to, and it's not what you say, it's how you feel about what you say. And so I always talk with that excitement. And so they were like, you were this 23-year-old kid, you were so excited about your business and our country, and so we didn't want to tell you no, so they joined. And so they joined the business, but they really didn't get going. And then when I left Thailand, that's when, not long after that, I met my wife, Mamie, and Mamie was a registered nurse. She worked the night shift in the neonatal intensive care. And so she was doing that when we were dating. And then, right after we got married, she was like, I got into nursing because I wanted to help people, but I really feel like in this business, maybe I can even help, I can even help more people than I can in nursing. So she quit nursing. We started working the business full time together. And, that was, there was lots of years of ups and downs. And I kind of look at my career, and I can kind of break it down, like looking at the past, really in these 4 kind of buckets. My childhood, I did learn that the 3 Ds: discipline, drive, determination. So that got me that got me, that got me a little way. That didn't get me all the way to the top 1% of our company, to the president's
Hmm.
team, but it got me, it got me to where I had a decent business, but I just
Hmm.
didn't have the leadership there. And I guess around, 2009, one of the things that, I'd always battled with, my whole life was alcohol, and I was, very, very good at partying and having a really good time. And, long story short, my wife, bless her soul, she finally had enough of that and kind of gave me an ultimatum. And, I won't get into the whole story of what happened there, but all of a sudden I said, that was it, and made a decision in 2009 that I'd never have another drink of alcohol again, and haven't. And so that, I think that was one thing that I would get some business going, and that was just something that I just wasn't the kind of leader that was really going to grow the kind of business that that I wanted to grow. So that kind of got me into this other phase from kind of 2009 to 2015. I call it my identity years, really changing myself from, hey, the party guy identity to, to becoming a leader in business, and a leader of other leaders. And, then I get to 2015, and it was really, this was a time I'd really gotten better into personal development, and I had really started doing a morning practice every morning and really working on myself. And I really started looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, there's a common trend here. And the common trend was I was really good at setting a goal and making that happen. Like, I took it all the way back, like I said, my younger years, racing BMX. I wanted to become the number one. You get a plate on your bike if you're number one. And I got that for Mississippi. And when I got that number one plate on my bike, I never ever raced again. So I never even raced with that plate on my bike. And
Wow.
then I started playing golf, and my goal was to, get the golf scholarship, Division I, and I did. And from the minute I got to college, my golf game dropped off. I didn't take it. I didn't take it as serious as I did prior to that. So I was like, here's this thing. And then I had, at that point too, I'd finally, took me 13 years to get to the president's team in our company. And then I'd
Hmm.
gotten there, and now I've been there for 11 years without moving to the next level. And so this was that time when I was really looking at myself, and I'm like, you have a weakness, which is you get comfortable. You reach a level, you reach some level of success, and then don't take it any further. And so I made this kind of commitment at that point in my life, like, okay, I'm going to start getting myself uncomfortable. I've got to break that habit. So that was that was kind of a big turning point in my life, when I kind of, took the time to sit back and look myself in the mirror and really say, okay, here's some strengths you have, but here's a huge weakness. And why is this? Why do I get to this certain level of success? And is it fear? Is it comfort? What is it that keeps me from really taking it to another level?
Yeah, we say that a lot. In I mean, where people even from the outside would look in and be like, "Oh, you're so successful, you're so great, you're doing so awesome," and yet we know we have so much more potential. Or maybe we don't know that we have that potential, but there is so much more potential. And for whatever reason, sometimes we just cap off and go into our comfort zone, or because it's easy to do when you got a fat check rolling in.
Yeah, no doubt, no
I mean,
doubt.
it's really
Yeah, I
easy to
remember
do.
there was a time Amy and I, we made it to the president's team on our company, and we were like, oh, like, we've got everything. We went and we bought a boat, and instead of all the work we were doing, we were spending, it'd just be me and her in the middle of the week out in the water on a boat. Like, I
Yep.
think back now, like, what were we doing? Like, here we are young. If we would have been working then like we work now, where would we be now? But
Oh yeah.
you don't know what you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we thought we had arrived, and we had not.
Uh huh. Yeah, because when you think you arrive, things can start to leave, and
very, very
that
quickly.
income can start going down, and you're like,
Very,
hold on,
very,
I thought this
very
was
quickly.
forever.
It takes a while to get there, but it will go away a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me more about when you say you were doing a morning practice, can you like break down what is it you do in the morning? What is that,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Um, yeah, I've got actually this journal sitting right here on my desk. So I've got in the cabinet over here, I've got like stacks of these. I've been doing it since 2015. And, prior to this, my phone was always my alarm clock. So
Hmm.
when my alarm would go off on my phone, I'm getting out of the bed and looking at that phone. And there's stuff on the phone, there's notifications, my attitude, my schedule for the day, everything was set right before I even got out of the bed by me sitting there and looking at those notifications.
Hmm.
And so I started doing this morning practice where I just started getting up an hour earlier and I start in that journal and I handwrite out. It took me a long time to kind of really decide, feel like what my purpose was, and that was something I started searching for. So every day in that journal, I handwrite what my purpose is, and then I do gratitude. I write out all the things that I'm grateful for, what pops in my head. Then I, just journal about different things that I'm thinking about working on, and then I get into write out. It depends on the time. Sometimes maybe I've got a 5 year goal plan that I'm working on, or a 3 year. It might even be 1 year, but I hand write out those goals every single day. I hand write them out. And then I
Hmm.
get down to the bottom of the page where I write, what are the things. I usually try to always make sure that I have 3 wins, like 3 small little micro goals for the day that I'm going to accomplish that work my way towards the other things. And then I do some visualization. That's always been something that's really been big for me. When I was in high school, and I think another thing being benefit I had being around my dad, who was always personal development, and anytime in the car growing up, it was Jim Rohn, Les Brown, somebody on the radio. There
Hmm.
was never music, and he got me tied in with a sports psychologist named Dr. David Cook at the University of Kansas, and I worked with him, and so visualization with golf was always important. So I do some type of visualization every morning, whether it's something that if I'm gonna be doing a training on stage that day, my visualization that morning might be running through my training through my mind. Or if I'm trying to reach a different level in our company, I might visualize myself on stage getting that recognition. So I do some type of visualization and kind of breathing practices every day. And so that whole process, it's usually around an hour. And if I happen to miss it, which since 2015's been very, very few times. When we travel, I might be in a hotel with Mamie, and put pillows in the bathtub, and I sit in the bathtub and do my morning practice. But if I don't do it, if I wake up, it's just my day. My day is just different. So
Hmm.
that was, looking back, probably other than quitting drinking and then starting the morning practice is probably out of everything that I look at that's gotten me to where I am today. It'd be those things played a huge, huge part, huge part in it.
Yeah, it's interesting because something like that, a daily practice or working out or drinking your shake or those daily habits can be seemingly like, oh, such a small thing. It's like because you do it one day, nothing happens. You
Yeah.
do it a week, nothing happens. Maybe you experience a little bit of improved attitude or something like that. Maybe, but really you don't see that compound effect, how big it's going to be until like now. What year did you start it? 2009?
2015.
2015. So 21 or sorry, 10, 11 years later,
10, 11
uh,
years, yeah.
you see that when you do something like that over and over and over and over, it compounds and you get crazy results,
It
but it takes
is.
time.
such a believer in that. And, for a long time, I would set goals and write them down. But when you add the visualization in there and handwriting that every single day and seeing it, I mean, it's like a joke towards Mamie now. She's like, because I'm like, yeah, I've been writing that in my journal. So she's like, hey, will you start writing this in your journal? Because it's it was like, even for us, like last year, being recognized #1 distributors, which was, such a huge surprise, but it was a goal. And I came back after we got that recognition, and I told Mamie, I was like, let me show you this. So I pulled out my journal, and so starting the beginning of of that year, I wrote that every day, and I would write, in very specific, I write like at March at the honors in Los Angeles, California, Mamie and we will be recognized #1 distributors in the world. So when I write that in my journal, I write it very, very specific. So probably about the first 7 months of the year, I wrote that every single day. And then I kind of quit believing it. I got into like, okay, maybe this isn't possible. And so there was about a 2 or 3 month period where I quit writing it because I started to doubt it. And then I started back up, around September, October, and then it happened. But I'm a firm believer in the power of that. And when you combine that, setting the goals, writing it, and the visualization, but then, just thinking about it, just writing and visualizing, I mean, you got to do the work. So I think
wait, you got to do the work too?
You got to do the work. So I think then what it gets down to is like what I end that morning practice with, writing down those 3 wins. And then I pull out my phone and the app that I use for my to-do list, and it's like, okay, what are these 3 things that I'm going to make sure that I get done today that move the dial closer to that? So I'm a firm believer in the big goals and the visualization, but the power of the little micro goals is the key too.
Oh yeah, like what are you going to do today? What's going to move the needle on? What's going to move you closer to the goal today? And so many people that get in network marketing, in my experience over the last 30 years, if you look at everything like with the big goal out there, so you've got the big goal of get to this level or whatever, it was like, I mean, for me, it was like any decision that I make better take me to that goal. So when it came to a training or to taking my products or to doing the work, sometimes I wouldn't do the work, of course, or I'd be a lot further than I am today. But especially with the big things like attending events, I would look at every event as like, okay, if I choose not to go to that event, I'm literally consciously choosing to step away from that goal to go a different direction. I was like, bro, I'm not willing to do that. Like, I mean, taking those, I think that's a good.
Yeah. Too many people, they think about the big picture, especially like, okay, they, join our business and look at somebody that's at the top of the company, and, that just seems so far away and so overwhelming. And it's like, back, I guess, like 2018, I went through this thing called Kokoro, and it's like a simulation of Navy SEAL Hell Week. And I was training for that and going to go through it. And I got to know this guy that was a Navy SEAL. And at one point in his career, he actually was one of the instructors for Navy SEAL Hell Week. And so I met him and I asked him, I'm like, give me some tips of how to get through this. And he was like, Trey, he said, my job was to try to get people to quit. And he said, the way I could always get people to quit was if I could get them thinking about the big picture. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're tired? You're hungry already? I mean, you got 4 more days of this. Like, if you're already like that right now, like, you might as well go ahead and throw the towel in now. You don't have any chance. He's like, if I could get their mindset thinking about the whole week. But he was like, what helped me, he said, when I went through Hell Week, another Navy SEAL told me, he's like, look, you need to break it down into these evolutions. He's like, legally, like every 6 hours or so, they're going to have to get you water. They're going to have to feed you. Like they have to take breaks. So no matter what they're telling you, what they're saying, you just got to know in your mind, I'm not in this for a week. I'm going to get through this 4 hours or this 3 hours or this 6 hours. I just got to get through this evolution. So he says if you can break it down into the little things. So that really has stuck with me, and with micro goals. It's like, okay, yeah, this big goal is way up there, and visualize that. But then once I visualize that in the morning, then that's out of my mind. Then it's just focusing on this little bitty thing rather than it being so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little thing like the 10 penny thing. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
something that you can hold on to that can be like your daily anchor of, these are the actions I take.
Exactly.
That's good. That's good. So I was so glad I got to be there to see you get number one, bro. What? That is so freaking awesome. That was such an emotional, awesome experience, and
Yeah.
so glad I got to be there to be a
Lots
part
of
of it.
videos out there of me ugly crying for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Even
I
though it
got
was
one.
a goal and I had visualized it, but like it was like, oh my God, this really happened. So yeah, but but then I'm like, okay, I don't want to be a one hit
One hit
wonder.
one.
So I mean, it really made me like, okay, now, working even harder. But two, those lessons I learned, all that getting comfortable, reaching somewhere, and like, thinking back, okay, remember that in 2015 when you said that with golf, when you said that in racing, like, don't get comfortable. So we've had a good year this year too.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So why don't we talk about Mark, and lessons you learned from Mark and about Mark. I mean, Mark, the founder of our company. I know you know who Mark is. I'm telling everybody else. Because I mean, there's so many lessons and so many times you got to be around him, even as a young guy, because of your dad. And I mean, what a cool guy. He was the best.
Very cool guy. I think somewhere behind me right there is a picture of me playing golf with Mark, and that was. Remember, I was invited because I wasn't on the president's team in our company, and I was in college playing golf, like I said, and I went on this vacation with my mother and father, and it was in the Caribbean in Nevis, and it was at the Four Seasons in Nevis. I think at that point, I was like the #1 rated resort in the world, and Mark was there. He had just purchased this yacht called the Chamois. It was like a 160-foot yacht, and he had it there parked outside and the hotel. And so I was out on the driving range just practicing hitting golf balls, and my dad came out. He said, the big man wants to play with you today. And I'm like, who's the big man? And he said, Mark. And I'm like, what? And here I am. I grew up, playing competitive golf, but I'd never been so nervous about, playing golf with someone. Because in our house, the fairy tales that we're told were probably different. There were stuff like Mark and all these successful people in business that were who my dad taught me about, and I'd met Mark at events, whether it was an autograph or things like that. But, me going to be in a golf cart with him, spending the day with him, this is a whole nother level. And so we get out there and we're on the golf course, and first of all, he comes walking out. He's got these blue jean denim shorts on, like rolled up, his sleeves on his shirt, his golf tee in his mouth. We get on like the third hole, and I look down, and he's playing with one of the balls from the driving range with the red stripe around it. And I'm like, this guy's got a 160-foot yacht there. And I'm like, he's just a regular dude, And all the nerves, everything went away. And so we get up to the top, and if you ever go to Nevis, the Four Seasons is on the bottom, and then there's a golf course that kind of goes up the mountain. So there's one of the holes, and you're at the top, and you're looking down, and you see this resort. And so we're standing there. I'm standing here, Mark's right beside me, and I'm looking and like, here's this resort and here's his yacht, and I'm standing by Mark. And so my thought process at that time was just like, man, this is like really cool just to be here seeing this and experiencing it. And at the same time, he kind of elbows me and he's looking too. And he goes, I wonder what this island would cost. And I'm like, what? And at that moment, I'm like, wow, two people in the same spot looking at the same thing, but definite different vision. And then he starts saying, it's not, the islands aren't really that expensive. It's just doing the infrastructure, it's getting your plumbing and all. Because he had this dream of, he wanted to have an island that was only Herbalife distributors, that lived on this island. So he had done the research, and so he's going through all this, and I'm just like, I finally look at him, I'm like, I don't know about all that, but I'll play you this next hole for your boat. He started dying out laughing. He had a son named Alex, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, he said, Alex has this little rubber boat in the bathtub. He said, I'll play you for that. So, but it was like, that was Mark, like, vision, really like looking at two people looking at something and seeing, having such bigger vision. So that lesson, and then there's another thing to me that kind of summed up Mark, was a great leadership lesson for me. Mamie and I, when we got married, we went to Fiji for our honeymoon, and then we flew straight from Fiji to New York, and Herbalife was launching their makeup line.
Color.
And so we fly to New York, and so we're on the front. So all this big production, happens, and there's all these models come out. This is a huge time. You got to think, this is his company. This is a huge step, launching this whole new line and all these models, everything. So it's this unbelievable production, and he comes out, and we're like, everybody's like pushed up against the stage, and Mamie and I are standing right on the front. And so all this is going on, and he comes and he sees us, and he like squats down and looks at us, and he says, how was Tahiti? And I'm like, we went to Fiji, but I'm like, Tahiti was great. But it was like, to me, it was like, okay, here's this guy. We're like really nobody in the company at that point. And this is like a huge, huge moment for him. All of this going around him. And he zones in and kneels down to ask us how our honeymoon was in this moment. And I'm like, wow, that's a different type of person. That's a different type of leader there. So those are, so many lessons I learned from Mark, but that, vision, and just really how to treat your people, how to, take your eyes off of yourself, and really put them on your team. Live that.
He did. Whenever Heather and I got engaged, and we went to an event where Mark was speaking, and you remember, people would qualify to take pictures with Mark. There'd be like 10,000 people in line, and the guy would just love it. He loved every minute of it. He had the same amazing smile in every picture. He was like so genuinely happy to see, each person, and we were really peons. At that time, we were like, even, it was kind of, maybe it was, it couldn't have been too far off from whenever Color launched and when you guys got married, because we've been married the same amount of time. But yeah, it was like, we got up there for a picture. He'd probably taken 4,000 pictures, and we got up there, and he was like, I heard y'all just got engaged. How's everything going? And I don't know if there's no way he could have known that without having, he must have instructed somebody to, tell him what's going on with each person that was coming up. But even that shows a great care and a great, he really did just love every single distributor on the team. And you and Mamie really, model that at a very high level. And, it's a big key to your success.
Well, I appreciate that. Between learning from him and, my dad, as you said, he was a master of that too.
Oh.
I can remember so many times, like, I mean, we'd get in arguments. I'd be like, you spend more time helping other people that aren't even on your team than you do your own son, you know. But I think back, it's like, because I wanted him to do it for me,
Yeah.
but he wasn't going to do it. But now I'm so grateful, you know, I look back, I'm like, you know, he was teaching me everything. He gave me all the tools, but I just wanted him to do it for me. And I'm glad now. Yeah, I'm glad that he didn't, that's for sure. But, you know, you're always learning.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember him telling, how he'd always say, some people walk into a room and they're like, hey, here I am. And, Bill walked into a room and he's like, there you are. And he was so great at and you have the same thing. You and Bill you're just like y'all are the same. I mean, he just walk into a room, you walk into a room and it's just like, there you are, and just make people feel important. And, when you do that, that people will walk their walls for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I don't think I'm anywhere near his level, but I appreciate that.
Oh man. Well, so what are you? Any books that you're reading or studies that you're doing that I mean, at this time, or maybe for somebody getting started in network marketing, or along their journey, what are some of the books or programs that have made a difference for you?
Yeah, there's I'm one of those that I do lots of audiobooks, and then when I find something that you know something that really clicks with me, so I'll listen to an audiobook, and then if I find a book that I'm like, okay, wow, I'd love to implement this into my business. How does this pertain to my business? Then I order the book, and I find that there's any study courses on that, and so I go all in on that. So there's been a few. One was by General McChrystal, Team of Teams. And that was one back in 2018, was really when I kind of moved to another phase, I think, in my life, which was leadership, really wanting to build a team. And so that book, there's two books. One is Team of Teams, and it kind of teaches, it's related to the special forces, of how when he was leading all the special forces, you take like Delta Force, you take the Army Rangers, you take the Navy SEALs, you take all of those people. They all have these different cultures, but they all on one team, the U.S. military. But it was in that book of how he built this team of teams. And that was one thing I wanted to do in my business, all of my different organizations. So there's Team of Teams, and it kind of teaches that philosophy, but then One Mission is the follow-up book to that really teaches how you actually build a team of teams. So those were powerful for me. And then one really, probably the last year and a half, 2 years, I've really been working hard and diving into Dan Sullivan books, and 10X is easier than 2X, Who Not How, and The Gap and the Gain. Those three books, I bet in the last 2 years, I've probably been through each one of them 5 or 6 times through the audio books. I did order the workbooks. So those are, those are things that have really made an impact in me that I'm working on here lately. Is because I want to go 10X again. We've been 10X. I want to grow my business 10X, but the philosophies that he teaches in The Gap and the Gain is just so powerful, I think, for people in our business, because sometimes we look at, okay, I'm not where I want to be, but we've got to take a step back and look at actually how far we've come to get here. So those are ones. Those three is really what I'm diving in on really hard right now.
And I need to read those again, because those are 3 such mind-blowing books. I mean, Who Not How is like, Who Not How is mind-blowing. 10X is easier than 2X is mind-blowing. And The Gap, they're all mind-blowing. I need to go back. I need to do another run-through.
Yeah. Those are powerful, and I think they relate so much to any business, to just life in general. But those have been powerful for me. So I haven't, and that's kind of how I am. I mean, I'm reading other books and listening, but I really, when I find something like that, I dive in. I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I've some quote somewhere about it's not how many books you read, but how many become really a part of you. So those are kind of some philosophies, some things that, you know, and especially like the who, not how is important because for me, I'm always, and it gets back into that maybe from golf, from BMX to individual sports is I tend to sometimes be a control freak and thinking I need to do everything myself. So learning how, okay, who can be other people that can do something better than me, that can help me. So yeah, those are good ones.
Oh yeah, that's hard, isn't it?
Yes, for sure,
It's like,
for sure.
okay, here you go. You do it, and you're looking and you're like, it's so bad. They do it so bad. Mark always said, he's like, if they can do it 80% as good as you, and you get to go do other things that make you more money or that grow your business, you got to be okay with the 80% is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
had
my
that same
dad used to
problem.
tell the story one time of he had a meeting here in Mississippi, and Mark actually came. This was probably like 1983. Mark came to Mississippi,
Wow.
and my dad had this opportunity meeting. And so Mark gets here, and Mark says, "Who do you got that's brand new that can do the meeting tonight?" And Dad goes like, "Brand new?" He goes like, "Brand new." And Dad's like, "I mean, I signed up a guy last night." Mark's like, "Let him do the meeting." And my
No.
dad's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can teach the meeting." So my dad gives him this kind of outline for the opportunity meeting, and the guy gets up there. My dad's on the front. My dad's like literally mouthing to him, and my dad's like, "I can't believe this is like a disaster." And the founder of the company's here, and he's like,
Oh,
Mark's like smiling, laughing, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, Mark." And Mark's like, "No, man, the whole room thinks if that guy can do it, I'm gonna get filthy rich." So Mark's like, "It's the best meeting I've ever been in."
oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Crazy.
That's just awesome. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I mean, do you have any closing remarks or anything that you'd like to share with people that are, a lot of people are going to be watching this, and I think we're going to go into the millions with this one, Trey. This is going to
I think
be,
so.
we're going to go viral around the world. I mean, if we just need to get every Herbalife distributor to watch this, that'll be 2 million views right there.
I mean, it'd be unbelievable. I think we can do it. Now, I think just looking back at where you are. There's one thing I always like to ask people: what's the opposite of success? And usually, what people will say is failure. And it's exactly opposite. I believe the opposite of success is quitting because failure plus failure plus failure plus failure equals success. And I think you can get when you get to where you are, look back, and that's one of the things that's so powerful in that 10x is easier than 2x book. It's like we've all had these 10x periods in our life where we grew 10x. It might not have been our income, but it might be just in life. So earlier, if you notice, I said there's really been like these 4 different phases I look at my life. One was my childhood, discipline, drive, determination. The next was that period from 2009 to 2015 where I kind of quit drinking, changed my identity. Then 2015 to 2018 was really where I started doing like this Leadville mountain bike races and that Kokoro. So there was this time in there where I really worked on my mindset. And then 2018 to now has been working on leadership. So there's really these that I look, those are 10x times in my life. The 2009 to 2015 identity, my income really didn't grow through there. But those were times where I was really working on myself, which were so valuable. Same thing really 2015, 2018, a 3-year period there where I was really working on myself, working on mindset. My income didn't grow a lot, but that was 10x growth in my life. So I think when you're looking at where you are in your life and your business, don't always relate it to just income or depending on your industry, your pins or anything like that, because you can be in some stage where, you really don't see things happening on the bottom line, but it can be a very important growth stage. So I just challenge everybody to kind of look back, and again, that's part of the gap in the gain also, really looking back and seeing what you've accomplished, and knowing that, hey, right now you might be in one of those phases, those seasons where it doesn't look like things are really happening in your life or your business, but you're in a very important stage right now. So just don't quit, just keep going through, and then we always get to look back and say, wow, that was an important part of my life, even though it didn't feel like it at the time, but it played a big part in where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on the Larry Hulsey podcast. I'm glad I got the invite finally.
Absolutely. I know you've been waiting for this for a year. I had
to get the number one in the company to get on the Larry Hulsey podcast.
I know. I was like, I'm not bringing this loser on if he's not number one.
The first Mississippi guy to make it on the Larry Hulsey podcast.
That's right. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, cool. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Okay. That's a wrap for today. If you got value from this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a show. And if this message resonated with you, share it with a friend and connect with me on social media. I'm at Larry Hulsey, and I'd love to hear how you're applying these lessons in your own journey. So remember, success is more than just one area of life. You want to keep growing, keep leading, and keep prospering the way God intended. We'll see you next time.